Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo, this is the Mundane Matt channel, and you know, it's always fun when Pepe gets into the news. Why? Because it generally means that a gigantic shit show is coming, and it's always fun to watch. Especially last year when, for some reason, Hillary Clinton decided to give fuel to the fire of Pepe the Frog being associated with some alt-right groups by declaring it a hate symbol. This, of course, backed up by the Anti-Defamation League, who also declared it a hate symbol. Louise Mensch from Heat Street and, you know, local loon said that it was a Nazi Jew-hating symbol of the alt-right. Basically, everyone said that this, you know, at the time, an 11-year-old meme that was the feels bad man meme was now, you know, used by the alt-right, appropriated by the alt-right, and even the creator, Matt Furie, basically gave it to them. He quit the character. He killed off the character earlier this year as a way to just kind of disassociate himself with it. But that's changed because he's now pursuing legal action against the alt-right. It's very hypocritical in my opinion. And it's very telling of who he is as a person, especially who he is as a person who let his creation for a decade plus be utilized and used throughout the internet in a multitude of different ways, and only now pursues legal action. And I think that's something to consider in this as well, but let's continue. Matt Furie, the creator of the non-racist stoner Pepe the Frog, has been fighting to regain control of his character from the alt-right white supremacists who have appropriated it as a hate symbol. Furie recently sued Eric Hauser, who has written a children's book starring Pepe, which Furie lawyers said espoused racist, Islamophobic, and hate-filled themes, including allusions to the alt-right movement, and was deliberately targeted at children. I never read it, so I don't know anything about that, but it also says here that he lost his job as a middle school assistant principal after releasing it. A settlement in the case forced Hauser to donate all profits from the book to a Muslim advocacy organization. Now, first, I don't know if he released it under his name. If so, ballsy, because that could easily be tied back to a LinkedIn page, which would show that you work as a middle school assistant principal. And imagine that too. Imagine being the assistant principal at that school, and then all of a sudden you get fired for creating a Pepe the Frog children's book. Right, and then and the kids at school just know you as the meme guy, and I'm pretty sure they also were sharing the memes with him. Kids love memes. They do. They love memes. It's interesting how much they've really jumped to them. It says here that this was only the latest episode in Furie's quest to restore Pepe's representation. Furie previously spoke out against the character's misappropriation and even killed Pepe off in a free comic book day comic. Yeah, he killed him off. Okay, like I said before, he literally washed his hands of Pepe when it was that whole situation coming out as it being a member of the alt-right. I even said at the time, it was all like, why he's abandoning his property. He's not even fighting for Pepe. He doesn't even care anymore. Like, clearly he doesn't care. He was a Hillary supporter. He didn't want to fight back at the time. Made no sense to me. And then a few months later, he goes and he kills off Pepe. Right? Then he goes, well, then he has a change of heart here, using Kickstarter, bringing the frog back from the dead, and asking the Anti-Defamation League to remove Pepe from its list of hate symbols. Here's the thing. The Anti-Defamation League, for all intents and purposes, should probably never be taken 100% serious. Always treat it like everything else with a gigantic grain of salt. He didn't do that, and now he finds himself in this situation. And even selling some nice enamel pins and featuring the character. See, again, there's some weird lines there in terms of copyright. I would argue at this point that probably you could say that Pepe was public, you know, it was in the public domain. It was given how little he stopped anyone, or if he did at all stop anyone over the course of a decade of this thing being out there in the wilds of the web, it kind of forfeits ownership of it. It belongs to the internet. It becomes part of the public domain. But because now people are trying to profit off of it, he's like, oh, I gotta stop that myself, which I think is BS. I do. I think it's BS. I think that had this been within a year or two, or even 5 years of the character being out there, you let it sit for a decade, you killed off the character, you wash your hands of the character, you publicly made sure you were not associated with this character anymore, but then all of a sudden you're just like, no, I'm taking it back. This ain't. No, it doesn't. No, you can't put something basically out there in the public domain and then take it back. It doesn't work that way. However, his lawyers are probably going to say it differently, and a lot of other lawyers are probably going to see it differently. But this is one of those situations could actually be a landmark case for fair use on the internet, because I do feel that Matt Furie is in the wrong here for seeking to fight back against this, because he didn't do it any other time. Why now? Same thing with Campo Santo and their DMCA claims against PewDiePie. Why is it this one thing you want to fight back against? It just there when these things are used for in political means, I get really pissed off because it's like no. I either be for everything or be for nothing. None of this in between shit. Anyway, and now Furie and his pro bono lawyers, of course they're pro bono. Of course they are. At Wilmer, Cutler, Pickering, Hale, and Dorr, LLP, have taken the fight to the big leagues, sending cease and desist orders to Richard Spencer, Mike Cernovich, and Reddit's The Donald subreddit, and DMCA takedown notices to Reddit and Amazon to remove unauthorized uses of Pepe's image in websites and consumer products. Now, just now you're doing that? Like, again, it just makes no damn sense to me. It's like, this feels like such a blatant violation of the DMCA rule. All they have to do, literally the Donald, Cernovich, Spencer, they could get together as a class action, not a class action, but a joint lawsuit, and file one back at him, because he's abandoned his property for so long, and maybe argue that, not that the copyright itself has expired, but that he never, if he trademarked Pepe, I guess it would work, but maybe not. I don't know. I feel like this is just, it's a dick play. It's a dick play because he wants to fight back against Donald Trump winning. This wouldn't even be an issue if Donald Trump had not won. Let's just be fair. Furie was very serious when he said he wanted to make clear that Pepe was not the property of the alt-right and couldn't be used by the alt-right. But I've already said my piece about that. Said lawyer Louis Tompros in an interview with Motherboard. But actions speak louder than words, and we wanted to make sure that we are backing up that statement against entities that were misappropriating Pepe character and image. That's what we've been doing over the past few weeks. So you've been violating copyright, violating DMCA laws, because you want to protect the fifis of the person who created it, let it go into the wilds of the internet, when it did something he didn't like to do, was associate people he didn't like, instead of fighting back, then wash his hands of the character, then subsequently killed the character, and then now is, oh, wait, no, they're using it. It just, no, come on. Anyone with half a brain can see what's going on here. Anyone with half a brain can see that Matt Furie is he's just pissed. He's pissed that he's using the law in such an inappropriate way. In such an inappropriate way. Following Motherboard's article, alt-right personality Baked Alaska took to Twitter to claim that Furie's lawsuit would never hold up in court. Saying here that the creator Pepe the Frog has officially sued me. What a time to be alive. So, and then Baked Alaska saying, one guy here saying, except he can. Baked Alaska is using copyrighted material in a commercial way. Baked Alaska responds with, false. The frog I used in my book was drawn and created by my graphic artist, not Matt Furie. And then he's saying here that the frogs look vastly different, would never hold up in court. So that's one thing to consider. It is one thing to consider whether or not this would play out in that fashion. If they were able to argue that in court, that they looked different enough and were created by different people. Again, you could also argue that it's been abandoned by the creator and put out there. Now, granted, copyright laws do give 70 years past death. He's still alive, so that is to consider as well. And yes, I might be rallying against him in his decision at this point, but I understand it. I do understand it. So, says here that the battle for his soul has just begun. But Mike Cernovich did pop up in this too. And he did. Now, Mike Cernovich talked about this on Medium with a post titled, Mike Cernovich's lawyers respond to the frivolous Pepe the Frog lawsuit threat, saying here, I will not be censored by an anti-American law firm, Wilmer Hale, and will defend my free speech rights. This attack by Wilmer Hale is an attack on us all. And this is a letter they sent back saying here, Dear Mr. Tompros, this firm has the honor and privilege of serving as counsel to Michael Cernovich. We are in receipt of your letter dated September 12th, ostensibly on behalf of Matt Furie in regard to claims of misappropriation of the image Pepe the Frog. I say ostensibly because it's clear that this was more of a publicity stunt than a serious legal threat. We appreciate your client's seeming displeasure that Pepe has been transformed into a political icon. Like Mr. Furie, Mr. Cernovich takes issue with being mistakenly associated with the alt-right. In fact, the article you cite specifically answers the titular question in the negative. Moving forward, we expect that neither party will falsely claim that the other is affiliated with the alt-right. Funny thing about that, too, is Cernovich was, for all intents and purposes, as far as I recall, involved, like, just in the name alt-right before Spencer came around. And as soon as that whole thing popped up, he's like, whoa, bro. Same with Paul Joseph Watson and Milo Yiannopoulos. It was really funny. Alt-right was a thing until we met Richard Spencer. and then it was no longer funny. That was my favorite thing with the alt-right. All these right-wingers are like, oh, we're totally alt-right, you know, using meme warfare. And then here comes Richard Spencer like, hi, guys. And they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. This dude cray. You know, like, we just like to talk shit. This guy's straight up wants white ethno-state. Oh, man, you know, and they backed off. It's pretty funny. As to your claims of infringement, we disagree. We will assume for the moment that your client properly and timely registered copyright in the image of Pepe the Frog. All defenses on this issue are reserved. We note that Boys Club, in which Pepe first appeared as a meme, was published in 2006, but we do not see a copyright registration by your client relative to that work. Neither is there one on the earlier Playtime work. It also appears that your client placed Pepe in the public domain. Bam, sucker. These two circumstances seem tied together. No copyright was registered because Pepe was intentionally placed in the public domain. Remarkably absent from your letter is any consideration of fair use. Of course, since it wasn't a serious legal threat, this doesn't surprise me all that much. Even if your client could enforce a copyright in Pepe, any claim against our client in this context would fail. Both the video and the banner image qualify as fair use. The image of Pepe is used as a political commentary and satire. And it goes on to say here, because there's more, and this is great, because this to me feels like a huge legal slap in the face. During the 2016 presidential election, Pepe became a symbol of the alt-right. Mr. Furie tolerated such use, but otherwise specifically distanced himself from the alt-right movement. The use of Pepe by Mr. Cernovich goes beyond, for example, Milky Way Productions' use of Pillsbury's Pop and Fresh character, in which fair use was found for the wholesale use of the character in a fictional sense as commentary on the corporation. And see Pillsbury Co. versus Milky Way Prods. I love that. Like, here's some legal precedent for what happened. Here is the case and case number to look up. By the way, yeah, here you go on that one. Here, Pepe of the alt-right has taken a life of its own for distinct from its original character. We will charitably construe your letter as an attempt by Mr. Furie to alter the perception of Pepe by the public. We also notice, however, that Mr. Furie has undertaken a Kickstarter to utilize Pepe commercially, and the release of the statements to the media, rather than simply attempting to work with Mr. Cernovich, suggests an ulterior motive in support of Mr. Furie's commercial venture. In fact, our view is charitable in name only, and your patent attempt to gain publicity for the commercial venture through Mr. Cernovich is foolish. To that end, please advise your client that Mr. Cernovich has, at his discretion, removed the video from YouTube and Facebook, but reserves the right to republish them at his pleasure. Further, he won't see a dime from Mr. Cernovich should you choose to file suit against Mr. Cernovich. We will be delighted to embarrass the fuck out of you and set up a malpractice claim by your client against you. Because if you really don't understand fair use, you should leave copyright law to the lawyers that do. We expect a prompt acknowledgement that you are withdrawing your demands. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I love that. We will be delighted to embarrass the fuck out of you. It's rare that I actually applaud anything Cernovich has done. In this particular case, bravo, sir. You have lawyers with balls. I can appreciate that. But my favorite little tidbit to come out of this is an image by Ben Garrison where you have Matt Furie, but I killed you. And then, of course, Pepe the Frog looking smug, walking away, saying, who the hell are you? And it is a very fair assessment as to this whole situation. Matt Furie has distanced himself from the character. He has killed the character. He's washed his hands of the character. And when it serves his commercial venture with the character as a way to kind of take Pepe back, he's violating copyright law and fair use law, as well as putting the character in the public domain. When he distanced himself as much during the 2016 presidential election, that was basically a declaration. I think that could be easily argued in court. As evidenced here by these lawyers, they are willing to go ahead and argue it. And here's the deal: I don't support the alt-right. I don't support any of that nonsense, but I'm big into copyright law. And if you place something out there in the public domain for the world at large to use, and the world at large can use it, and when you don't like something that they've done or don't like how they've presented it, that is not your place to file anything legally. You can proclaim your dismay and your disappointment and your upset at what's going on, right? You can sit there and do that. And the whole situation with PewDiePie and Campo Santo and the Firewatch game, they filed a DMCA claim against him for no other reason than they don't like a word he said in a live stream because it ticked them off. That is not an accurate use of fair use. That's not an accurate use of the DMCA law. And that is why these particular outings, when they happen, need to be struck down with fire and fury, according to our president, because they harm more than they do good. And so, yes, I'd love to see, you know, this go through further. And I'd love to see Matt Furie and his lawyers get smacked down. Matt Furie's own actions make these claims, you know, illegal in my opinion. And, you know, and I could be wrong. And look, if I'm wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. But based on what I know of copyright law, based on my knowledge of the events that have happened, Matt Furie no more owns Pepe the Frog than you or I. Even though he created it, he gave it away. And now that he's doing something he doesn't want, he wants it back. And that's just not how this works. Hey guys, that wraps up this video. If you'd like to leave a comment, please do so below. I love to read your guys' input. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It really does help me in the YouTube algorithm. If you want to support the channel, there's the Amazon affiliate store, there's PayPal, there's Patreon, there's Bitcoin. And if you're bored and you want something else to watch, check out 3 Buck Theater up here. My name is Matt Jarbo. I will talk to you guys later. Have yourself a wonderful day. Peace out.